Hello and welcome to another manga spotlight. This is Rooster Fighter, and it is probably one of the greatest things I have ever read. Oh my god, this series is so freaking good. So this is basically One Punch Man if Saitama was a rooster instead of a human. Like, how awesome does that sound? So yeah, as you can see, it's an action comedy with animals, monsters, post-apocalyptic, survival. I don't know about post-apocalyptic. It takes place in the modern day times, but there are a lot of kaijus in this series. Oh, instead they call it Kijū instead. But yeah, it's basically like One Punch Man. So the battle action manga tells a story of how humanity is threatened by monsters with overwhelming might called Kijū. As the cities are destroyed and the people fall into despair, a rooster stands up to face against the threat. It's a story of how a single rooster saves humanity. Yeah, that sounds about right. So yeah, Rooster Fighter. So the great thing about this is that it depicts moments that like in shonen and stuff like that would seem really cool and awesome, but because of the fact that it's a rooster, it's just so silly. But it never takes itself like it never portrays itself really as a parody. Like there are comedic moments, but the funny and the comedy comes from how silly the premise is, and that's what makes this so great. So I mean, like we start off with, for example, a Kijū, which is basically a kaiju, but in this series they call it a Kijū, attacking a city, and it's about to kill a small child when the rooster shows up and saves the day. And I love how badass he's drawn. Like he looks like something straight out of like a seinen series. But I'm actually gonna skip the first two chapters. Instead, we're gonna go into chapter 3 because I believe chapter 3 gives us the best self-contained story that kind of shows what the series is all about. So we start off with the rooster, and he's at a zoo. And the reason why this rooster is in a zoo is because he ate a hairy caterpillar that basically upset his stomach, and these birds took him in and kind of treated him until he got better. So that's why he's at the zoo. So we have this funny moment where he's talking to the leader of the group, Old Man Zena. And Old Man Zena basically is like, you know what, you haven't eaten for 3 whole days. Here's some Brazilian grasshoppers I was saving. You can have some. And this is basically the best way to explain this rooster. So he's like, you know, this goes above and beyond saving my life. There's no way I could take something this valuable from you. I'll just accept your feelings. And Zena's like, all right. So Zena's about to go eat. And then Rooster kind of puts his wings out. It's like, no, don't eat. And they kind of stare at each other for a moment. And Zena's like, are you going to eat them? And Rooster's like, well, since you insist. So that's basically the crux of Rooster's personality. For example, we have another moment where some of the younger birds want to play with the rooster, so they kick him into the little pond, and he starts drowning, and he's like, you know, screaming for help. But as soon as he climbs out, he just kind of looks at him. He's like, remember this. That style is called the cluck stroke. And then he just kind of walks off like a badass, and everyone else is just kind of like, but you were screaming for help. Like, weren't you drowning just a moment ago? So it's basically he portrays himself to be this like badass, but he's also really not. It's weird, but it works and it's hilarious. So Zena and Rooster are kind of having this moment where Zena's telling his story, and the story is that he grew up on the Amazon River with his sisters, and they used to love watching the sunset together until one day he was captured and taken to the zoo. And at first, he didn't really care for it. But then he started seeing the smiles on the people's faces that were coming to watch him and the other birds. And that started kind of reigniting something in him. And then he started seeing the other birds as his family. So they, you know, they all support each other. They care for each other. They mourn together when one of them passes away. Nothing could ever replace his sisters, but nothing can replace the family that he's made here. And this is very important, because as soon as he's finished telling his story, a Kijū attacks. And of course, the Kijū attacks the bird area of the zoo. And Old Man Zena goes out and he starts fighting off the Kijū because he won't let any of his family be hurt or die as long as, you know, he can fight. So he fights this Kijū to the point where he breaks his beak, and the Kijū eventually swats him down and just pummels him. And that's when Rooster's like, all right, enough of this. And Rooster comes in with this really badass headbutt, and we get this just cool pose, like something straight out of One Punch Man when Saitama gets all serious, and it's, the style of drawing gets more detailed on Saitama, and Rooster's all, you trampled over the things that Elder Zena protected with his life. I'm riled up for a cockfight. And that's basically Rooster's catchphrase. I'm riled up for a cockfight. He says that every time he's about to unleash his superpower. And his superpower is basically a cock-a-doodle-doo scream that's pretty much like Black Canary from DC Comics. It's just a scream that makes his opponent's heads just like enlarge until they explode. Like that's how he took out the Kijū in the first 2 chapters. Again, just kind of hilarious. So yeah, he fights off this Kijū and he kills it, and everyone's surrounding Zena, who's basically dying from his injuries. And we get this really sad moment where like everyone's crying over Zena, and Zena, as he's dying, he has a vision of him with his sisters, and they're watching the sunset for the final time, and then he passes on. I was like, damn, dude, like this manga actually made me feel for this fictional bird that only lasted for 1 chapter. Like, damn. Like I feel for this guy. And the reason I'm laughing is because that's how I deal with my emotions. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because one of my most popular videos, the Ninja Turtles, where I'm talking about Donatello being brutally killed, I'm laughing a lot in that. And a lot of people got seriously pissed off at me. Like I got a lot of private messages with people saying some really nasty things because I was laughing. And it's like, I'm not laughing at Donatello dying. I'm laughing because that's how, like, I don't know how else to express my emotions. Like I laugh when I'm happy, but I also laugh when I'm nervous, when I'm embarrassed, when I'm scared, when I'm angry, when I'm sad. Like it's just how I deal with things. So kind of a long story, but that's why I'm laughing at this really sad moment of this fictional bird dying. And yeah, he passes on, and of course Rooster's sad, but he's too tough to shed a tear. So instead he grabs one of Zena's feathers and he tucks it into his wing, and he makes a promise to Zena, and he says, someday I'm gonna pass on this feather to your sisters. And that's how the chapter ends, with him walking off into the distance. Except not really. He starts to walk off into the distance like some kind of badass, and then he passes out because the grasshoppers that Zena gave him didn't sit well with his stomach. And that's how this chapter ends. So yeah, so that's Rooster Fighter. Freaking amazing series. I think you guys will like it. If you guys like One Punch Man, you'll love this. This is basically, like I said earlier, it's One Punch Man, only with the rooster instead of a lovable bald guy. But the artwork is fantastic. Like it's actually super detailed, especially when Rooster gets into his fighting zone, and he's when he's ready for a cockfight. The artwork gets really detailed, exactly like One Punch Man when Saitama gets serious. The writing is great. It's as this chapter shows, it knows how to hit all the feelings. Like I feel sad for this fictional bird that I only spent 1 chapter with. But there's also a lot of comedy, a lot of cool fight scenes. I mean, I went into this thinking like, how can you have like some really cool fight scenes with the rooster? But they pulled it off. I don't know how, but you pulled it off. So yeah, cool. You got your action, you got your comedy, you got your drama, a little bit of romance in the first chapter. Rooster gets it on with another chicken. Yeah, this series has everything, and it's only 3 chapters so far, but it's 3 like amazing chapters. Like that's how great this series is. The series won me over with only 3 chapters. I mean, to be fair, it won me over in like the first few pages. Like the first few pages, and I was already sold on this. But yeah, this is a freaking great read. Highly recommend this series. Go check it out. I'm hoping this gets translated officially in America, and if it does, I am totally going to be buying the series because it's amazing. But yeah, that's Rooster Fighter. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any other series out there that you guys recommend, let me know. This series, for example, I stumbled upon through a meme That's how I've been finding a lot of my manga series lately. It's just I find memes and I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny. Let me read, or that's kind of interesting. Let me read a little bit more into it, and then I actually end up liking the series. So yeah, if you guys have any manga recommendations, let me know. Comic book recommendations, let me know. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys have a good one. Later. So what'd you guys think of that video? I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe, hit that bell for notification, leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And if you did enjoy the video, thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next video is more to your liking. Feel free to check out the playlists that you guys see, and I hope to see you guys next time. Later.